Hey guys, this week the summer blockbuster train keeps on rolling with the release of Terminator Genisys. This is the 5th installment in the franchise and marks the welcome return of Arnold Schwarzenegger in the role that made him a Hollywood superstar. Naturally, there will be a ton of computer-generated effects helping to fuel the over-the-top action set pieces, but it's one application of CG in particular that always seems to get people talking, and that's the reverse aging of actors. We know what happens in Terminator Genisys because there's a scene where old Arnold approaches young Arnold in a standoff that rewrites a scene from James Cameron's original Terminator. But the former Governator isn't the first actor to rely on some computer trickery to appear younger on film. It's an effect that's gaining popularity, and though it can be a little jarring due to that whole uncanny valley issue, as effects workers strive for perfection, we can expect to start seeing more and more youngified leading men on screen. So here are 5 examples of actors who've relied on computer-generated fountains of youth. Number 5. Arnold Schwarzenegger in Terminator Salvation. That's right, Genisys isn't the first time Arnold Schwarzenegger went digital for the Terminator franchise. Back in 2009, Christian Bale's John Connor came face to digital face with the iconic T-800 during a rescue mission at Skynet's headquarters. Accompanied by that unmistakable refrain that signals doom, the T-800 reveal proves that a Terminator movie just isn't complete without an appearance from Arnie, even if it's completely CG. Thanks to sparing use of the effect and fast editing, there's really only one shot in this climactic sequence that looks super fake. And in a movie filled with clunky storytelling, this shot is more of a minor sin overall. In fact, it looks like the Genisys filmmaking team has embraced a digital Terminator, since we know that this new film plays with timelines and features at least one more CG face-replaced Arnold. Number 4. Sylvester Stallone and Robert De Niro in Grudge Match. Sylvester Stallone finally wore out his welcome in the boxing ring with this movie about 2 aging fighters who put the gloves back on one more time to settle an old rivalry. Critics were quick to dismiss this movie as cliched and pointless, which is probably a little harsher than it deserved. Either way, one thing no one disputes is how far down the uncanny valley the filmmakers fell with some faked footage from the 70s and 80s that uses CG to make Stallone and De Niro look younger. The scenes in the ring literally look like cutscenes from a boxing video game, and this shot where Stallone announces his retirement looks positively alien. And while De Niro features a little less prominently in this sequence, his effects shots are no works of art themselves. I don't know about you guys, but I would have preferred it much more had they cast young lookalikes for the flashbacks than to try and force these problematic shots down our eye holes. Number 3. Jeff Bridges in Tron Legacy. You would think that a movie that takes place primarily in a virtual world would pull off a CG character no problem, right? Well, yes and no. While Tron Legacy sports a very distinct visual style, which is the movie's singular accomplishment, it also succumbs to less than perfect digital de-aging. Jeff Bridges reprises his role as Kevin Flynn, the inventor of Tron, as well as playing his younger digital counterpart Clue, the program director of the grid, with an eye on imposing his nefarious ideals back in the real world. Tron Legacy actually does a pretty good job of reversing the clock on Jeff Bridges, and I'm more inclined to forgive the imperfections of the CG because the Clue character is a program. It's an acronym that stands for Codified Likeness Utility. But it's those eyes, those dead robot eyes Clue has, that constantly remind the viewer that what they're seeing isn't real, especially when contrasted against Jeff Bridges as Flynn without the benefit of CG that show what an actor as capable as Bridges can convey with their eyes. Still, Tron did do it better than most, at least for now. Number 2. Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart, X-Men: The Last Stand. Forgetting the whole continuity nightmare caused by the desire to erase this film from existence, X-Men: The Last Stand continued the franchise's box office success. Among the hundreds of effects shots you'd expect in a superhero movie, elderly stars Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen stood out in the flashback that begins The Last Stand by appearing much, much younger than they were at the time of shooting. Using a technique called digital skin grafting that had been in use for years on music video shoots, visual effects company Lola shaved 2 decades off this duo with a bunch of ones and zeros. This technique seems benign enough, even if it doesn't convincingly turn the clock back 20 years. It definitely reduces wrinkles and sagging to make Charles and Eric look healthier, if not truly decades younger. And unlike Tron Legacy, the glimmer in their eyes remains, which means so does their humanity. Number 1. Brad Pitt in The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. If anyone knows how to pull off seamless visual effects, it's David Fincher. Part of what makes him so effective is that you often don't realize you're even looking at an effect. Remember the Winklevoss twins in The Social Network? Or the perfectly rendered apartment effects in Fight Club? Fincher's films are full of effects that don't call attention to themselves, but have an undeniable impact on the end product. Benjamin Button is kind of the exception here because it can't help but call attention to itself as you watch Brad Pitt age backwards from a frail old man to an infant. It's believable every step of the way, and it marks the best use of CG to alter an actor's age to date. Obviously, the aging effects demand more sheer awe. Seeing a small, frail Brad Pitt being coaxed to dance is far more impressive than the subtler CG used to make the then 44-year-old actor look like he was in his 20s, but it's equally effective in executing the premise of this ambitious undertaking. It should be noted, however, that after a certain point, Fincher ended up casting a younger actor for Benjamin Button's childhood, It was a shrewd move that proves that Fincher knew exactly where the ceiling on this technology was, and the film is better for that wisdom. So there you have it, 5 notable examples of actors being youngified with CG. Who did we leave out? Are you a fan of this technique, or do you prefer makeup and casting solutions? Let us know in the comments, and get ready to see more of this trend when Terminator Genisys opens this weekend. And as always, come back to Ask Man for more entertainment coverage.